So, Man United have finally won a football game. That's nice, isn't it? Little Man United just winning a little football game. Well done. Well done, you won a little football game. Good job. But they made it look tricky, didn't they? Yeah, they did. They beat Burnley 1-0. A moment of quality really won them the game. It was a very tightly contested game, especially in the centre of the park. So I thought, let's break it down a little bit, and this is what I think sort of happened, where the battles were fought during the match, and who really came out on top, because Burnley themselves, they put up a really good fight and looked really good. And one player in particular for them I thought played really well. But we'll get onto that later. First of all, let's dive into sort of how the game unfolded and where those key battles were really played. So I think the game really played out in the centre of the park. I think Burnley and Man United really packed out that centre midfield. Burnley using their usual inverted wing backs with likes of Connor Roberts coming inside to create more numbers in the centre of the park, and then use those wingers Koleosho and Goodmanson. I know he came off a bit earlier, but Mike Trezor came on and replaced him, and they both stretched the pitch out to create more space in the centre of the park. And if we look at the average positions, Man United just didn't really play with any width. The only width they had was through the full-backs. And if we look at those positions, they're so narrow. You basically have three just dotted in the centre of the park. And Burnley are the same. You can see those fullbacks coming centrally. And I think with the way that United wanted to play, they sort of played with that diamond formation at times. It was quite weird, actually. They had Rashford and Højlund as that front two, with Bruno sometimes coming in on the right and just playing further up the pitch than McTominay was on the left of the centre midfield. And then Hannibal Mejbri at the tip of that diamond, sort of. And he had a lot of energy, actually. He was the one that was really triggering those presses for Man United. And it came off sometimes. They're still getting there. You can see that this team still needs time to bed in and get that chemistry between each other. But the game was really fought in the centre of the park, as I said. And I think Burnley really won that midfield battle. They won more duels in the centre of the park. Looks like they covered more ground to me as well. And they had more accurate passes. And I think Burnley just did really well. They played quite fluidly when they had the ball, especially with Aaron Ramsey, who's a really creative player. Josh Brownhill, sort of the talisman and captain of that team. And Josh Cullen sitting a bit deeper compared to those two. And Burnley really exploited those spaces sort of in between the defence and the midfield. And they did really well to get in those spaces and create little chances. And let's just take a look, actually, because the biggest chance for Burnley came when they hit the post. And we'll have a look at a few screenshots from that chance, and it shows how they did really well and where Man United need to improve, because there are a few mistakes from them there as well. So if you take a look at this screenshot, we can see the midfielder picks up the ball in the centre of the park, and you've got Amdouni and Aaron Ramsey both sitting in those spaces just in between the defence and the midfield. But if we take a quick look at Victor Lindelof here, look at his body language. He's just not in the right position at all. He doesn't take a single look at Amdouni. If you go back and watch the highlights for this clip, the whole time he's staring at the ball, completely ball watching. Then he's caught in absolute no man's land. Amdouni gets on that blind side and is able to make that run in behind. And Aaron Ramsey has all the time in the world to play him in. Unfortunately for Burnley, Amdouni hits the post. And if we go back to the first screenshot as well, there's 4 Man United midfielders, and that passing lane is not blocked off. No one's blocking it off. McTominay needs to get in front of where Amdouni and Aaron Ramsey are, and he needs to completely block that lane. He can't be letting line-breaking passes like that get through when you've got 4 midfielders in there and you're trying to outnumber Burnley, because that's just way too easy. They found it way too easy to exploit Man United and get in behind there, and that can't be happening from a United point of view. But credit to Burnley, because they did really well. This is an exact example of where they're getting in those half spaces, in those pockets, to really open up United and get in behind and get those chances off. If we look at Burnley off the ball as well, I think they're also really impressive. I think their press was really structured. If you look at when Man United, especially in that first half, had the ball, when Onana had the ball and was playing out to the centre-backs, Burnley were a real unit, really compact, and they didn't give in to that bait of the press. They didn't instantly go and charge at Onana, charge at Evans and charge at Lindelof. They sort of sat slightly off and cut out those passing lanes. And United had nowhere to go because those fullbacks were wide, but the Burnley press meant that they couldn't play out to them. And this is where Man United are crying out for Sofiane Amrabat, because in that first half, Casemiro and McTominay, neither one of them wanted to come deep and collect the ball with their back to goal and give the defenders somewhere to bounce a pass off. And Amrabat coming back and making his full debut for Man United is going to be so important, because that's what he does. That's what he wants to do. He wants to come deep and pick the ball off Onana and those two centre-backs and just force the team forward, really. But in the end, in the first half and the whole game, actually, Burnley had more possession and they were a lot more effective playing out from the back than Manchester United were. Look at the two goalkeepers' pass accuracy stats. Onana only has 73% pass accuracy because he was having to go long more because there was nowhere to go. Whereas James Trafford for Burnley had 91% pass accuracy because he was able to play those short passes and they were able to move up the pitch through the midfield, Burnley were, when Man United just couldn't do that. And we know that Man United, they don't mind letting the other team have possession, because Erik ten Hag said time and again, he wants them to be the best team in transition in the world. He wants to hit people on the counter-attack and become the best team at doing that. And that's where they've been effective, in all fairness. When they've got goals in other games this season, it's been through Rashford breaking in behind. If you look at the Arsenal game, they pick up the ball in the midfield off a sloppy pass, give it to Rashford, and quick counter-attack, and he's in and scores. But they weren't really able to do that against Burnley. I think Burnley were really good at stopping that from happening. But they also need to learn how to build from the back, and that's where Man United are really struggling. They look really stagnant and there's no fluidity in that midfield and from the defence to the midfield. And that's where I said Amrabat's going to be really important. So there is that to look forward to for Man United, because they're crying out for him, absolutely crying out for him. And I know he came on Saturday against Burnley, but he came on at left back for about 2 minutes. And that's not where he's going to play, and that's not where he wants to play. And that isn't where he's effective. So when he's back at the base of that midfield diamond, if they keep playing that, it's going to be crucial. But unfortunately for Burnley, United just have that bit of quality, and that's where the goal came from. Hats off to United, because it is a brilliant goal. Well, mainly hats off to Evans and Fernandes, to be honest, isn't it? Because the ball from Evans, who I thought actually had a really good game, Johnny Evans, much more solid than Lindelof was for me. And he picks out Fernandes with a brilliant ball. Fernandes is on the blind side of Jordan Bayer, I think it is. Makes that run in behind, in between the left back and Jordan Bayer, and it's an insane finish, isn't it? Really, like, you can't really complain when you can see goals like that. You just got to take your hat off and say well done. And unfortunately for the Clarets, that's where the game was won and lost. So United went into the half-time break 1-0 up, and if we look at the second half, I think United played slightly better in that second period. McTominay and Casemiro were coming a bit deeper at times. They're not doing it enough, which just shows that neither of them want to do that job. But they did come a bit deeper. They were able to link play a little bit more, but the build-up just isn't there at the minute. And yeah, it doesn't look like they want to do it. Marcus Rashford was really isolated in this game and quite ineffective for about 10 minutes in the second half, 10-15 minutes. He was moved over to the right-hand side where, he just did not do anything. He could not get into the game, and that right-hand side is not where he wants to be, because he cannot play just off the inside and cut in like he does on the left. And he was playing way too safe. He was not able to make those direct runs and those passes into Højlund from that right. And as soon as he swapped back to the left, United were in, and he had a chance and he had a shot at goal. But that's where he needs to be, on that left. But they just weren't getting him the ball enough, and that was a real shame, because Rashford's obviously a really dangerous player and a really crucial player for them, so he needs to get the ball more. And as for Burnley, their midfield looked strong, they looked good, they had more than just the two in midfield, they had more numbers, which really benefited them, and they could really get about the pitch and win those duels more effectively and have someone to come and pick the ball up when they won those. But they need a number 9. They were really missing a focal point and a presence up in that number 9 position. Amdouni, he likes to drop a bit deeper, and Brownhill pushed on past him quite a lot. but they really missed that presence, and they didn't have a target in the box really until Rodriguez and Sander Berge came on for like the last 10 minutes or so, I think it was, and they started to win more headers from crosses. But they need someone up there who's a bit more of a presence. I was surprised Rodriguez didn't start actually, because I think he could have been that. And I think he'll probably start the next game if they want to play this way again. But yeah, they need someone of a bit more quality up there to make some more dangerous runs in behind and win those headers and hold up the ball a bit better as well. But I just want to highlight someone quickly that I thought played really well, and that's Aaron Ramsey. Joined Burnley this summer from Aston Villa. Villa have a buyback clause, which I think makes a lot of sense, because Ramsey was one of their most promising young players. So to see him leave on a permanent was a bit of a strange decision, but they do have a buyback. So if he plays well, then more than likely that they'll go and try and bring him back to Villa Park. But for now, Burnley have him, and they need to make use of him, because I thought he was really impressive. As I showed you in that in those screenshots, he was the one getting into those little pockets of space and making things happen. He won 8 of his 11 duels in the midfield area and was quite effective defensively as well, actually, which was a bit surprised because he's one of those creative, more attacking players. But he did win 3 tackles in the centre of the park as well as winning those duels. But he also had that one key pass, he had that one big chance created, which Amdouni hit the post and probably should have scored, in all honesty. And he has 79% pass accuracy, which is good for a midfield player that wants to take those risks and make those dangerous passes in behind. So 79% isn't that bad. It shows that he's not just playing the simple, easy balls, sideways, backwards. And I think he's someone to look out for. But ultimately, it is 3 points for Manchester United, and a big 3 points for them. They needed this really badly. They needed to start picking up momentum from somewhere, and winning games when you're not playing well, as much as it can be a tough watch, it is a sign that you're a decent team, and they've got that bit of quality with that goal. They showed they've got that bit of quality. So it's not all panic stations for Man United. Obviously, it's not a good start to the season, and I actually spoke about this with my friend Big Mac Jack in my previous video, the Coffee House episode 3. We spoke about what exactly is going on at Man United and how they can fix it, because a lot's been happening off the pitch and on the pitch that just is not showing good signs. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are things to look hopeful for, and I think we spoke a bit about Højlund, and I think he looks quite good in this Burnley game as well. He's making those right runs, he's getting into the right areas, and he is that real presence, and he just needs to get better into this team a bit more, learn how to play with Rashford and Bruno, and once they're on that same wavelength, he's going to be really dangerous. And it might take a bit of time for him to really hit the ground running, but he's going to be a really good player for Manchester United, you can really tell. But it was a win for United, and respect to Burnley, because they put up a really good fight in this game, and in my opinion won that midfield battle despite United picking up those 3 points. And it shows a bit of promise for them sticking to their principles, because I think with the results that they've picked up so far at the start of this season, you can easily think they need to change this. They need to sit back a lot more, not be as expansive and risky in their playing out from the back. But if they can keep this up and keep finding those little pockets, then they can really push on in the next few games. I think they've just got to be a bit more solid and switched on in those defensive areas, I think. But what do you think of Man United? What do you think of Burnley in this game? Do you disagree with me? I could be horribly, horribly wrong. This is just my observations. Or do you agree? Let me know in the comments, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure to go check out that previous video about Manchester United with Big Mac Jack. It was a good one. It's a really interesting conversation. And just hit that like button and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. We'll have some more content coming out on the channel over the next few weeks and for the rest of this season. So keep getting involved, and I'll see you next time.